is a case, and this is not a profound argument, I'm just telling you a story about my family, where a woman was pressurized to have an abortion and didn't. And the result, whether you like it or not, is me here. That human life, it's a sort of divided position. That human life is wonderful and important, and we have no right to take it. It was merely an anecdote, it was merely a story. I'm not going to base any argument against abortion on that. I just thought it was a nice story. Yeah, sorry.
So what you're saying about like outside pressures on the woman to have an abortion, and so if the government isn't sort of providing providing the opportunity for that woman to have an abortion, and there's all these pressures on her to have one, then she could potentially go to some sort of shady medical practice to have it done, and then there's her life is in danger. So I guess if there's that market there for people want to have abortions and they're going to get them anyway, so should the government or at least the medical community provide them in a safe environment?
I think it's a very good point. I mean, this is often mentioned that the notion that years in the past women were going into backstreet abortions, having abortions, and often they would suffer terribly and sometimes die. And there are no figures for this, but that's the nature of it because they weren't legal. Without doubt, these happen. I don't believe some of the stories we hear, because it's outlandish tales of all these people running around and dying, but without doubt, there were horrible, messy, vulgar procedures that took place in people's back rooms, without any doubt, and it was absolutely awful. What I do know now, though, is that in clean clinical conditions, millions of babies are killed legally with government funding. So whilst the former position was repugnant, the current position is also disastrous. This is not going to be, it's illegal, it's over. This is about education. As I mentioned earlier, public funding. I believe 80% of Canadians will say no public funding. Most Canadians don't even know there is public funding for it. And if those women who are so committed to abortion rights really want them, then let them donate some money, as we all do, to the cause to make sure that those women who can't afford the abortion can have it. And let someone like Morgan Taylor not earn as much money as he does. He's a very wealthy man, he can do it a little bit cheaper. That's some of my doctor friends who work in Africa for 5 years and they can barely feed themselves. That urge to abort, the desire to, will always be there. And I'm going to give you a bit of a messy answer. I'm not quite sure how that is resolved. Because even if we had all this sort of education and discussion of this issue, there would still be women who may make the choice themselves. It might not be a man, it might not be the community, it might be they go, I just have to go away. And do we say to that person, well, you put your life on the line? It's a very good question to ask. To get to that stage of argument, though, is a great achievement for me, because usually if you just mention the issue, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Also, then, in terms of health, there was a report recently about, and this did not come from any pro-life group, this is from the British Medical Association, the links between cancer and abortion, which if you've discussed in the past, you go, oh, God, yeah, that's just a lie, it's just mythology. Well, it ain't, because there's more and more evidence. If you think about the body as something as profound as a child in the body, and the child is removed long before it's supposed to, and somehow the body's not meant to react in any way. Emotional trauma, there are a number of women coming forward now talking about their abortions and how they regret and what they went through and so on. Now, some people want to pretend this doesn't happen, but then people deny all sorts of things. So I don't think there's a complete answer to this, and it's a good question, because it will occur, whatever we do. And do we make it more difficult? Do we have some help given? Anything is better than what we have now. Which is, this happened to my sister, who, to be quite honest with you, I don't speak to anymore, but that doesn't tell you it's a different issue. We're so close, we don't speak. But she's 3,000 miles away. It's true, but my niece is autistic, Katie, quite profoundly autistic, actually. And when my sister was pregnant, when she went to see the doctor, and the first thing that was said was, here's some information about for abortion. and my sister, who is not religious in any way, she has no particular religion, said, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. And she was really angry. My sister gets very angry quite quickly, actually. But she was really annoyed that this had been suggested to her. It wasn't, here are your options, or what should we do? It was, there's going to be some real problems here, Steph, and here's where you can get an abortion. And that is not rhetoric. Women of a certain age, young and older, in certain conditions, sometimes economic distress, frequently an overworked doctor will not sit down and speak about options, but will say, here's where you can get an abortion. That has to change. If we can, some areas of compromise, we are thinking at this point, some areas of compromise. So, thank you.
Well, Mr. Coren, I'll see you on
You should be
television.
ashamed of yourself.
Okay.
You're such a martyr.
Thank you.
You have 8 television shows and an article. You're a real martyr. You can't talk. By the way, I'm not confused about you being on the left.
Thank
People on
you.
the left aren't anti-woman, telling them how to control their bodies.
Yeah.
Cheap and anti-Semitism. They're not Islamophobe. Violence your heart. Listen to that.
Now, all those people who ask intelligent questions, who are both supporting and oppose me, that is what I mean by intolerance. You disagree, that's okay. Agree or disagree. The chances are we would agree on all sorts of issues. And probably, I'd like to think if you saw me in distress, you would actually come to my aid. If I suddenly have a heart attack, which is not, you wouldn't just leave me lying there. You're not bad people. We disagree. It's the idea that you can shout someone down because you disagree with them that I find to be obnoxious. I can shout down at him. I could probably pick him up and rattle him. But that would be bullying. That would be unacceptable. It's wrong to do that. It's wrong to do that. You know, my oldest son, no one here plays rugby for Queens by any chance, do they? No, no. My oldest son, they're just looking around, no, you don't. I fixed my pictures a moment. But my oldest son plays rugby for McMaster. He's tight prop, right? He's 260 pounds, he bench presses 7 meters. He's a big, big guy. He could go up to anyone, you know, just pick him up and do this to him, but Dad, then if you would, he's a nice boy. No, it's wrong, it's bullying. And shouting someone down, you know, someone who might be a Nazi, there are limits to freedom of speech. I believe that Jews should be killed, or blacks should be killed, or these people should be killed, or gays should be killed. Well, I'm sorry, you've gone beyond the realm of courteous, civilized disagreement. When I was at university a long time ago, South African apartheid was still in place, and we had no platform for apartheid policy. And there was a big discussion as to trying to bring the South African ambassador. Well, that's a valid argument. Do you actually allow someone to come forward to spew what is racial hatred? But you have to be a very small person with a very small mentality if you want to silence people who disagree with you about an issue of life while respecting your right to hold a different opinion. I'll get to someone else first because you already had it. I think it's only fair. So let's ask the girl with the gun, a woman with the gun.
So you were talking earlier about how groups like Kingston Live and other groups on university campuses are you know, their funding is being reduced. You talked a bit about that earlier.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, Queens Alive tried to stop funding to the SHRC, which is the Sexual Health Resource Center on our campus. It's a center that provides contraceptives at cost and has educated people sort of volunteering there that provide information about what to do in the case of pregnancy, and it is a space that where these people provide a supportive sort of network for everybody, and can tell you, you know, clinics to go to, or can set you up with. I mean, it's not. It's a pro-choice sort of thing, but it's not a pro-abortion sort of thing. And Queens Alive tried to stop the funding to the center.
Right.
So what do you think about that?
Well, obviously, I don't know very much about it, but if you believe that the pro-life group here should be allowed to function, should receive a segment of money, which you do.
The same amount of money?
Well, no, an amount of money, depending on the numbers. But if you believe a pro-life group should be able to function, use university property, receives some money according to its membership. If you believe that, then of course it's only fair that the opposing point of view should also receive funding. I would never silence who. I think I'll be absolutely wrong. Anyway, what gives me the moral right to say one opinion allowed, the other one not? That's my whole objection to the banning of pro-life clubs. I know what happened at York, for example, and it was done in a summer holiday when no one was there. Really, I'm not here to try and silence the other side. There are very few groups that shouldn't be allowed to function on a university campus. There are some, and I think there'd be a consensus here, some white supremacist group or something, or whatever. But otherwise, I'm with you on this. There was a big debate at McMaster in Hamilton and other universities too about Israeli apartheid. And there were people who said, this should not be allowed. Now, I actually do not agree with the term Israeli apartheid, but they have a perfect right to have that week. You know? If they're saying, kill Jews, well, no. But if they believe the Israeli system is apartheid, I may disagree, but they have a right to do it.